Following Tuesday's siege at the National Assembly by men of the Department of State Services, who prevented lawmakers and journalists from gaining access into the complex, journalists covering the National Assembly were informed of a planned press conference by the Senate President billed to hold Wednesday. After Tuesday's turbulence, the atmosphere Wednesday at the complex was calm. Lawmakers from both chambers of the Assembly, as well as journalists from both local and foreign media, were seated at the lobby of the complex. They all waited for Senate President. Bukola Saraki sooner arrived with Speaker Yakubu Dogara and some PDP principal officers of the National Assembly. Saraki, in a speech, described as a show of shame and act of cowardice the siege at the National Assembly complex, which he said prevented lawmakers from reviewing the budget for Inec. He, however, commended Vice President Yemi Osinbajo for his decisive action of sacking the DSS DG.
Unfortunately, yesterday, showdown prevented us from meeting with INEC to review their request. I must thank also the acting president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, for his handling of the situation we were all confronted with yesterday. His decisive action went a long way, restoring confidence and the image of our country. It's something they should have done much earlier on. There are many cases of this kind of atrocity we've seen from now. But I hope by this action, those heading the agencies will learn from it and will hold government accountable to consistency.
The Senate President went further to commend the National Assembly leadership and members of staff, saying they stood to defend democracy.
They attempted to execute an illegal impeachment of the leadership of the Senate without the backing of the law. I want to thank, from the bottom of my heart, and on behalf of the Speaker and all of us, Nigerians, our colleagues, senators, members of the House of Representatives, our very loyal and dedicated National Assembly staff for standing up to be counted for democracy during yesterday's siege.
Bukola Saraki appealed to President Muhammadu Buhari to speedily assent to the new amendment to the Electoral Act, which has been transmitted to him. The Senate President clarified the authenticity of his seat, saying he was elected into office by his people. He also said he is not among the class of politicians desperate to remain in power. On whether or not the National Assembly would reconvene to consider the budget of the 2019 general elections, the Senate President says what was sent to the National Assembly was only a letter saying it came late, while promising that the National Assembly leadership would go ahead to meet the INEC team, which was earlier planned for Tuesday.
On the issue of the INEC request, it's amazing how nobody is asking. Is it the day we're leaving that INEC required that they had a budget? There was January, February, March, April, May, June. Nothing came from the executive to say we need money for INEC until July when we're leaving.
Condemnations from several quarters has greeted the siege at the National Assembly complex Tuesday by men of the Department of State Services. Senate President Bukola Saraki has, however, called for a thorough investigation into what played out and called for sanctions to be melted on anyone found culpable. From the National Assembly, I am Osaruonamen Ibizugbe, reporting for ITV News.